The following is a Candlepin Stars and Strikes rebroadcast featuring some of our most memorable programs.
WNDS Sports and Tri-State Megabucks present Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Oh, look at this. Look at this! He got it! Ready for a spare!
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is sponsored in part by Washington Toyota Dodge Nissan. Looks good.
Looks good! That's good to go! It's a
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to another edition of Candlepin Stars and Strikes here on the Winds in New England. Glad to have you along. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy. Semi-final week, and Joe Tavernese trying to do something that has not been done for a while, but he's got 2 wins together. He needs 2 more to get into the Tournament of Champions.
I'm sure you know when it happened. I won't put you on the spot and you can tell me when it happened, but it's pretty tough to run the table. But Joe's trying to try to make it 3 in a row, but standing in his way, pretty tough bowler.
I'll tell you what, I won't tell you now. I'll tell you after we take our first break. How's that? That'll keep people tuned in. All right, let's meet our 2 bowlers here for today's semifinal match. First of all, our number 5 seed, 2 wins in a row already from Lynn, Massachusetts, Joe Tavernese.
Okay, Joe averaging 125, high single 207, high triple 484.
2 weeks ago, a 370 for Joe as he knocked off Rick Barassa, and then last week, a 404 as he knocked off Bill Koffold to win his 2nd in a row. So now he moves into the semifinals against our number 2 seed from East Kingston, New Hampshire, Brian Fuller.
Okay, Brian comes in averaging 121, high single 190, and a high triple of 464.
And guess what? We still have a bonus ball contest growing up to $160 this week. And so if your postcard is here, perhaps you'll get a chance to win it a little bit later on in the hour. But we've got a 3-game match coming up, Joe Tavernese and Brian Fuller, and we'll get it started right after these messages. Don't go away. To the semifinals we go now. Joe Tavernese, our number 5 seed, trying to make it 3 in a row. And yes, we will tell you when the last time that happened. It was just about exactly a year ago when Paul Berger came from the number 5 spot and won 4 matches in a row to get into the Tournament of Champions. Not easy to do. Today, Joe faces Brian Fuller in the semis. The winner of this match faces Rich Clark in our championship match next week. Rich with that big 7-19 in the roll-off. But in order to think about winning 4 in a row, Joe's got to get through this match first. And Brian Fuller's been waiting a long time to come back here on Stars and Strikes.
Well, Joe will open up shooting at the 2 and 5, and a tough piece of wood facing him. And there you see why.
He'll open with a 10. In the pocket and cleans it out. The 6 and the 9 were there, but not for long.
You're going to probably hear a little bit of noise with Brian Fuller up there. There's a lot of his friends with him, and that's a noisy crew.
That's why.
Makes a lot of noise himself.
Well, Brian waited almost 8 years to throw that ball. The last time he was here in singles competition was January of 1988 when he beat Ed Emerson in the semifinals with a huge 438 and then lost a very close championship match to Bill Logan. So he came that close, 8 pins in fact, was the difference in that championship match. Came that close to winning a series championship.
Sliding by the 2-pin, which is the object pin, to try to make that spare. So he ended up with 9 on the strike. And a 10 box, 29.
Oh, look out.
It's a double.
For Joe Tavernese. And again, like the last one, got a little bit of a kick on this one.
Yep, see, leaves just the 4-pin, and finally the 4-pin is kicked out for the double strike.
Kind of the mirror image of what happened before. He had the 4-8 that time, the 6-9. The previous
one there.
Almost the triple. And spare on strike. That's a pretty good start.
Yeah, I'd say 69 plus a ball after 4.
Brian Fuller, the left-hander. Left-handers in the number 1 and 2 spots in this series. And a 9 for Brian. Off target to the right, the half Worcester.
Well, he went for them all. Try to play it on the right side of the head pin.
I want to go back and correct something that I mentioned earlier, Dan, as Brian works out of that with an 8. Brian actually did not lose a match the last time he was here in singles competition. He's 3-0. He beat Clarence Davis with a 433. Then he threw a 438 to beat Ed Emerson. And then he won that match by 8 pins against Bill Logan with a 363. So Brian is unbeaten here on singles, although it's been almost 8 years since he's been here.
Another 9-pin drop for Joe Tavernese. He could easily had 4 strikes in a row. Left the 5-pin both times and converts it both times. And he is off to a flying start. 88 plus a bonus coming for the 5th frame. Open with a 10, strike, strike, spare, spare.
Oh, we had a little conversation during last week's show about 200 games, and that's how they happen. I mean, Joe came within 2 pins of 4 strikes in a row, and then you maybe talk about a 200 game.
That's right.
Possible. There's another spare, though. He's 96 through 5, and a spare up in the 6th. As Joe Tavernese is just a machine right now.
He's thrown 11 balls through 6 boxes. And that's with throwing 3 the first frame.
And Brian Fuller running up against a buzzsaw here. Had a strike to start the match, but hasn't marked since, and he's still off target.
Oh, tough
no
break there. Everything but the 2-pin. Brian just got to try to weather the storm, get a few marks up there himself, and hopefully he can turn things around. Or have Joe slow down a little. 106 plus this.
Oh, he kicks it. He got him again.
Oh, wow. I started to say that just a little forward. He had another chance for another strike. Kicks out the 4-7, and then finally the 3-6 go down. 6 marks in a row. Oh, off target that time. 4 horsemen, but he also has the 5-pin.
Looking for his 7th mark in a row, and he won't get it. .145 through 8. We tape our show, of course, as always, at Park Place Lanes, the newly remodeled Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire. Should come by and see the place if you haven't been here in a while. It's got a beautiful new look. And while you're here, be sure and stop in. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner at the Willow Tree North restaurant, located right inside Park Place Lanes, and say hello to Rodney Cronin and his staff. Great food, great prices, friendly service, and of course, above all else, it's where the crew eats. Brian Fuller really struggling to find his accuracy right now.
He's got the head pin and then the 8, 9, and 10 pins. A couple pieces of wood behind the head pin, which should help him.
$10, but a lot of trouble so far for Brian Fuller, as Joe Tavernese has really opened up with a high-octane first game here. Oh, look out. Wow, I thought he had a chance at another strike.
Well, the 8 and 9 pins, piece of wood still on the plate.
It looks to be in a pretty good spot.
I don't know, I think he's going to have to come up high and turn it. I think if he goes red line or to the left of the red line, it's going to miss the 8 pin. Yeah.
Yep. Joe has not left a pin standing in this game. 3 10s and 6 marks in a row, including a double strike.
Well, he's got the 4 pin and then the 6-10. I think he's going to play the 4 with the 2 pieces of wood in front of it. Snap it across, and
I didn't mention it the last box, Dan, but if Joe had thrown a strike there in the 9th, he had a chance at a 200 game, because if he throws a double strike here in the last 2, he's got a shot at it. But now, of course, the best he can do is 175. And he may do it. Well, it'll be 174. And a well-deserved round of applause here at Park Place Lanes. 174 for Joe Tavernese. But as you see, needing 55 pins in those last 2 boxes, if he steps up and throws a double strike, he's got an opportunity,
a
legitimate opportunity at the 200 game.
And as the bowlers say, he was in the zone for that game. Brian is in a zone that he just doesn't want to be in right now. He is really struggling.
Wow. Even that one won't go down for Brian. Brian had a strike in the first, and he has not marked since. And now he's just got the 2, 7, 8, 9. I don't believe we've seen this lead before. Oh, my.
Close. Coming back again.
The 8 pin again costing him. And it's still there. Well, last week, Joe Tavernese won his match by 76 pins. That's his lead after 1 game this week with that huge 174. We'll be back on Stars and Strikes in a minute. Brian Fuller. Wow. Oh, Brian just kind of rolled his eyes and...
What was that?
I don't know. Not really sure. Is that the 2-pin there, or is that the?
I have no idea. Which one is in the channel there? Was that the head pin?
That's the 4-pin, I think, on the right. Oh my! Boy, oh boy!
This is a strange box for Brian Fuller.
He worked hard for that 9. Let's take a look at the first ball again.
Not a bad looking ball.
Oh, it was the 4-pin that
ended up
hit
in the channel.
2-pin and knocked it over. But the 4-pin almost became the 2-pin. And on top of that, a half Worcester.
We'll have a quiz at the end of the show on that last box.
So far, it looks like Brian Fuller is having the same day Bill Koffold had last week. Joe Tavernese, who had 7 marks in game 1, with an opportunity for 1 here.
Well, I have a tendency to think he was a little bit leery of the wood out front, wanted to get by it to hit the 3-pin, and this was a little too far right.
If you just tuned in, you missed a 174 opening game for Joe Tavernese.
Continues his assault on the head pin with that first ball. I can remember missing it maybe just once that first game. There's another spare.
Almost for Brian. Wait, how do you figure it? He came out, threw a terrific first ball of the match for a strike, and now he's gone 12 boxes without a mark.
I think I mentioned last week that bowlers are really superstitious. I can remember bowling, and I probably told the story before, bowling with the fellow way back when I was in high school. I bowled in a men's league, and one of our bowlers, if he had a chance for a mark in the first box, he would throw it away. He was so superstitious that he didn't want to mark in the first box. Maybe there was something to that.
Maybe.
I always say there's only so many to a customer. You better get them while you can.
Another 10 for Brian.
I'm trying to help him out. I just missed a 10 and gave him a strike. Joe Tavernese working on a spare.
Again.
Oh boy. Look at this.
Strike.
Hello. Joe's not even going to break a sweat in this match. If he threw about 19 or 20 balls the first game and thrown 6 so far after 3 boxes in this game. 4 horsemen left. He is human. He missed the head pin. Not that time, though.
He doesn't miss the spare. That takes us to a break. 3 marks in a row for Joe Tavernese as he continues to light it up here on Stars and Strikes. We'll be back. Well, Brian Fuller can only just keep plugging away and hope something good happens. Brian has really had trouble hitting the head pin here on lane 31, but he just got it that time.
The crowd senses it. They want him to get a mark.
Oh, the long drought is over, and Brian gives himself a round of applause. After 14 open boxes, Brian gets his first spare of the match. Joe Tavernese rolling right along. This ball puts his lead in the match over 100, believe it or not, in just the 14th box.
Well, you know, when you throw a mark in the 6th box of the second game, and that's your second mark, you're in trouble anyways,
Right.
no matter who you're bowling. And now you couple that with your opponent throws a 174 opening game. 77.5 this time. He's slowing down a little bit.
How about this? Halfway point of the match, Joe Tavernese at 251.
After 15 boxes.
If he can keep that pace for the second half, it'll be the second ever 500 triple on television.
It's one of those situations you just want to sit back and say, It's just fun to see it happen. The bowlers get it flowing like this. Unfortunately, for Brian.
Fun unless you're the opponent. Right?
That's right.
That's 11 marks now for Joe.
I always say the magic number of marks is around 15 for your 400 triple. And he's already at, what did you say, 14?
11.
11 now.
Oh!
No, it's not going to happen. It's not. It's one of those days. He pushed that 10 pin to the left, no less, a couple inches, and it didn't go down. Big 9 drop on the spare.
And then, of course, gets blocked.
You know, I didn't want to say it, but I almost said, you know, with his luck, he's probably going to cap that wood and leave it standing now.
Going to have a ball removed from the channel over near the 10 pin.
Brian says, you better move it because I know I'll probably hit it.
Well, the odd thing is, if it weren't for that piece of wood, the 10 pin would have been an easier shot because it was away from the
corner.
Corner a little bit.
Yeah.
So instead, he gets blocked, and we'll have another open frame. And it's still there. Now it could have been a double.
It very easily could have been. In fact, it should have been a double, I think. When you move a pin that much, boy, it should go down.
This is on a spare for Joe Tavernese. He'll take 7.
Meanwhile, on another planet, Joe Tavernese is bowling.
Well, what will he do here? He's got to go to left, obviously, but...
Yeah, whereas you got 2 to 3 pieces of wood and snap it.
No.
Not a little too much. Too many pieces there. Deadened everything. Leaves himself the 9, 10.
Well, Joe is in a slump here. Clearly, he didn't hit 100 until the 7th box in this game. Boy, that ball was very smooth. Unfortunately, it was dead on the head pin for spread eagle. Takes a 9.
It's only the second pin he's left standing. He had 9 bucks. No, I'm sorry, that's his first pin.
Right, if you don't count the 9 fill on the spare in the 10th.
You can't do that, yeah.
Right. So it's the first time he's left a pin standing. Fuller has the double. Hey, how more interesting would this match have been right now if Brian had a triple?
That's right.
Which he could have had. Well, Brian is capable of throwing big scores. We talked about the back-to-back 400s he had here years ago. Oh, that's not the ball he wanted. That was a critical ball right there. Oh, but he converts it. Unfortunately, he loses the benefit, really, of the double strike with the 2 fill. I'd give Brian credit. He's bouncing back here. 4 marks in the last 5 boxes, including the double strike. This one off target. He'll grab a couple extra for 5 and a 131. 2-game total 229. Brian with 85 pins in the last 5 boxes of that game. Boy, Joe Tavernese he's bowling well, but he's also getting the extra pin, it seems.
When you have a big lead like that, though, it seems to happen. You're just a little looser or something, and they just seem to go no matter where you hit them. But as I mentioned in the first game, that's one of the few times he's missed a head pin with the first ball. So it certainly isn't all luck when you're going to be over 300 for 2 games or very close to it.
He'll
be over
he's
it.
got 295 right now.
If there are any takers, I kind of bet he'd be over 300.
Boy, he had a pin shoot right in through the diamond and didn't hit anything. And yes,
131 and a ball.
12 marks. Here's number 12. Just got a kick off the sidewall. Oh, loads it up with 8. A 139 and a 2-game total 313 for Joe Tavernese. 1 game to go here on Stars and Strikes. We have seen weird things happen here, but Joe Tavernese appears to be in the driver's seat with an 84-pin lead going into Game 3.
Well, usually if you're behind, add 100 pins to the pins that you're behind, and that's what you got to shoot for. So in Brian's case, he's got to be shooting for a 184 and hope Joe just completely falls apart and has a sub-100 game.
Joe off the head pin that time.
I'll tell you, any one of these bowlers, Brian or Joe or Rich Clark next week would love to have 313 after 2 games next week.
Yes.
That would certainly put them high as far as the seeding goes in the Tournament of Champions.
Bob Kelly is already in. Dan Broder is already in. One of these 2 guys or Rich Clark will join Bob and Dan next week in the Tournament of Champions. Rich Clark, our number 1 seed, will face the winner of this match next Sunday at noon here on The Winds. We hope we can be part of your Christmas Eve day next Sunday. Nine for Brian. Brian found the head pin for those 4 or 5 boxes late in the second game, but now he's having a problem again. Oh, how about it? Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's just unfair.
It really is.
Great look at Brian's reaction after that ball. Here it is again.
Oh, moved that 7 pin, much like he did the 10 pin in the first game.
possibilities here for Joe Tavernese, the 4, 5, and 7.
Yes, just wants to catch a piece of the wood and the 4-pin at the same time. No, just a little far to the right. Another inch or two to the left. I think he would have converted that for another spare, but right now he's just cruising. One box at a time, one less for Brian to work on.
Joe's probably trying to figure out if there's any way he can carry some of this scoring over to next week. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. Oh, my. That is his 5th strike of the match. Oh. Even with the wood, no luck for Brian.
And it's a 9, 28.
One of our participating sponsors here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. The folks at Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan in Salem, New Hampshire. Emmett Horgan and the gang, come to Salem and save. Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Oh, great shot. And that will take us to a break. Terrific shot for Brian Fuller. For the spare, just trying to make something happen here in the closing frames of this match against Joe Tavernese. We'll be back. Joe Tavernese is working on a strike.
Right through the middle that time. Spread eagle minus the 10-pin.
Eight. Missed the head pin and winds up with the 8-9. And perhaps makeable.
I almost want to play on the right-hand tip of that front wood and have it go off the left sidewall. He's going way left, but I think the shot was on the inside.
Nine box for Joe. Oh boy, well that's the kind of a day it's been for Brian.
Yeah, what else can happen?
Knocks out the 2-pin on a spare.
Can't even steal the half Worcester. The 2 and the 9.
Nice out for the 8 bucks. Brian Fuller actually led after the first box of this match. But from the second box on, it's been all Joe Tavernese. You know, if you're left with the high-low jack on your third ball, that
things aren't going too well.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Much like Bill Koffold last week, though, Brian is still trying to work through this and get something together.
Yeah, you have to finish the match, so you might as well keep plugging away.
Well, Joe Tavernese has cooled off a little bit here in Game 3. He has just one mark, a strike in the fourth. But he had an 84-pin lead coming in, and he has added to it. This time the 3, 5, 7, and 9 with wood.
He's going to try to pinch the 3-pin on the right, but he might leave the 5-pin. No, came back, get the 5, missed the 7.
For a 10.
Already at 395 with 2 boxes to go.
Wow. Boy, that was strange. Looked like he was going to have the 189, and then something came from the back to clear out the right side. I'm not sure what.
.64 through 7.
Let's look at that first ball. Watch the right side. It was the head pin, I believe. It was the head pin that came back and hit the 10. Good looking first ball there, and what about the leave? The 5-10. Oof.
He's going to go right after the 5-pin. Hopefully he can slide the wood into the 10. Obviously it's all academic now, but to see some shot making here going. Final few frames. There you go. Nice shot by Brian.
Might have just heard Brian. He said, I got a shot at 100 now.
Well, take away that first string. Second game, 139-131 in favor of Joe Tavernese. This is fairly close. Brian's got a mark working on. The damage was all done, obviously, in that first game. Pretty tough to come back from 76 pins. I don't care who you are.
That 10 bucks puts Joe over 400, but he's actually not going to have a much greater score than he had last week. He had a 404 last week, and he's at 405 right now. And now through the middle. The 8 for 100. And a sarcastic round of applause. For a 413 for Joe. And he has won his third straight match. And Brian Fuller, who was 3-0 prior to this on Stars and Strikes, all three of those matches back in late December and early January of 1988. And the spare, 2 in a row. Well, Brian's going to win this third game, probably. But the damage was done in the first. Six on this spare. Oh, almost. Almost a great shot. Brian finishes with 9, a 106, and a 335. So another big win for Joe Tavernese. That's 3 in a row now. He's one step away from the Tournament of Champions. We'll be back in a moment. We will have our bonus ball contest and set you up for the championship match next week when we come back. Don't go away. And welcome back to Park Place Lanes. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, and we've seen quite a show these last 3 weeks by Joe Tavernese. He's increased his score every week, and the last 2 weeks gotten out to big starts and cruised home for the win.
Yeah, he's just on fire that first game, and he was just in that zone, and Brian struggled. And when you fall that far behind with three-game match, it's pretty tough to come back. And then you start pressing, and you just don't seem to get the breaks. And he was proof of that. He didn't get any breaks. He moved that 10-pin 3 or 4 inches, and it still wouldn't fall down. And Joe just continually piled it up, and it was just too much to overcome.
All right, let's talk with both bowlers. First of all, Brian Fuller, come on up. We have a check for you, and a little conversation here as well. The round of applause. I know you brought a lot of fans with you, and obviously not the match you wanted, but we do have a check for you for third place, $250, and well, you threw a strike in the first box, and things had to be feeling pretty good then, right?
Yeah, I had the lead for 1 box. That was it.
Well, as Dan said, bowling against Joe, you know, probably a lot of marks are going to be thrown, and boy, it seemed like a struggle for you to just find the right spot on the lanes.
I couldn't find the right spot.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Well, I know you waited a long time to come back here on singles. We've seen you on the other show a little bit, but the key now is not to make it as long a wait in between, I guess.
Well, I got to throw a better ball, and I just did it. It will be 8 more years.
Brian, thanks a lot. Congratulations. And now we will have Joe Tavernese in the long-awaited bonus ball contest attempt. Joe's third attempt here as he's won 3 weeks in a row, $160. And Joe has totaled 6, his first 2 weeks. So he'll be going for something a little better than that. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Oh, he might have gotten too many. Let's see. 9. Let's see. For $160, Dan is dragging out the suspense here. It is not a match for Lorraine Richards of Suncook, New Hampshire, who guessed 7. So, Lorraine, we will be sending you a consolation prize, of course, and $170 next week, and you'll be back next week.
Yes,
you got it all out of the way early.
Yeah, I know it. That's for sure. It's always nice when you start out like that. That's for sure. It takes the pressure off a little bit,
Well, yeah, as we were saying, it makes it difficult for, Brian goes up there, he knows he has to throw strikes now and makes it tough.
Right, it does, exactly. That's why, it was just made it easier for myself, and he was kind of struggled, so it was just a lot, pretty easy. But Brian's a tough bowler, so you can't let up at all on him.
Saving it a little in that third game for next week?
I think so. I hope so. I hope so.
Well, congratulations, Joe. It'll be you and Rich Clark for the championship next week. We look forward to it.
Okay, Doug. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Joe Tavernese with 3 wins in a row, and here we go. Next week, it will be number 5 against number 1. We mentioned it's been just about a year ago at this time when Paul Berger ran the table from the number 5 spot and got all the way into the Tournament of Champions. And Joe Tavernese will try and do the same next week. He will face our number 1 seed, Rich Clark, who had a huge roll-off, 719, including a 192 fifth game at King Lanes to qualify for this series.
I bowl with Rich, so I've seen him in the last few weeks. I don't know if anyone's been any hotter. He's been bowling some terrific scores, and the 192 proves that fact. So it shapes up on paper, anyways, to be a great final match.
Well, we are looking forward to it, and we hope that you will join us over the holiday weekend next weekend. We hope to be a part of your holiday here on the Winds of New England. Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget, Saturday at noon, we will have Candlepin skins from the Londonderry Bowling Center. And then next Sunday, Christmas Eve at noon, it will be Joe Tavernese against Rich Clark for the series championship here on Stars and Strikes. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, I'm Doug Brown. Have a great week, everybody.